The Pied Piper of Hamelin by the famous English poet Robert Browning. Let's read the poem and analyze it. The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Hamelin towns in Brunswick by famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. A pleasanter spot you never spied, but when begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin was a pity. In the first stanza, the speaker introduces the lovely river town of Hamelin in Brunswick. It is in Germany, and tells of its serious vermin problem. It was 500 years before. Second stanza. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats, and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses out of the vats, and licked the soup from the cooks on ladles, split open the kegs of salted sprats, made nests inside men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning their speaking with shrieking and squeaking in 50 different shops and flats. The city was full of rats, and the large number of rats attacked the dogs and even killed the cats. They went into the cottages and bit the babies in the cradle. From the storage tanks, they ate cheeses. The rats frequently licked the soup, and the rats split the barrels of salted fish. They made their nests inside the hats. By making continuous noises, the rats even spoiled the chats of the women. Now let's get into the third stanza. One day the town folk flocked to the town hall. They appealed to the mayor to urgently look for some means to rid the town of rats. Suddenly, a strange-looking man, tall, thin, wearing a long red and yellow coat, appeared in the doorway. He told the mayor he could rid the entire town of rats for the price of 1,000 guilders. The mayor agreed gladly. All over the city, we can see the rats had overrun, and the people of the city flocked to the town hall and requested the mayor to take necessary action to get rid the town of rats. Suddenly, a strange man appeared in the doorway of the hall. He was very tall and thin, and he was worn a long red and yellow coat. And the strange man told the mayor if he was given 1,000 guilders, he could get rid of the entire rats from the city. By hearing this, the mayor was very happy and agreed gladly. Stanza number 4. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Then, like a musical adept, to blow the pipe his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkle, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. In this stanza, we see that the strange man, that is the piper, stepped into the street with a smile. The man looked as if he had a magic pipe in his hand. Then the strange man, as an expert in music, started to blow the pipe in his lips. Stanza 5. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, You heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the house the rats came tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, tawny rats, grave old plodders, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished. Here the strange man, that is, the piper, heads outside and begins to play his flute. Almost immediately, the rats come out from everywhere and follow the piper as he plays, and dances through the streets until he finally gets to the river Weser and leads them all to their deaths by drowning. Next stanza. The town folk rejoiced, Hamelin was at last free of rats. The piper asked the mayor to give him his due. The ungrateful mayor and the corporation refused, saying that as the work was already done, all they could offer the piper was a hearty drink of wine. Little did they know what fate would befall the people of the town for their ingratitude. Here we see that the people of Hamelin is overjoyed because of the piper who got rid all the rats into the river. Then the piper asked the mayor to settle his payment as they agreed before. It was a contract of 1,000 guilders, but the ungrateful mayor and the corporation refused his payment. They said that as the work was already done, they could offer the piper a hearty drink of wine. When the mayor and the corporation said so, they didn't even imagine what would be their fate in the future for their ingratitude. Next stanza. Once more he stepped into the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe of smooth straight cane, and ere he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as yet musician's cunning never gave the enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds justling at pitching and hustling. Small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping and little tongues chattering, and like fowls in a farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children running, all the little boys and girls with rosy cheeks and flakes and curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping, ran merrily after the wonderful music with shouting and laughter. In this stanza, we can see once again the piper heads out into the street and begins to play his flute. However, this time it is not for rats, but the children of the town who begin to follow him. The town was enchanted by the sweet music of the piper. The magical music of the piper attracted the crowd, and they start hustling and bustling merrily. Small children of the town started to follow the piper. The children were following the piper with quick and light steps. The clattering of their wooden shoes was audible there. Thus, the children of the town were enchanted by the magical music of the piper. Next stanza. The piper led the dancing children to the high Koppelberg hill. A huge cavern opened in the hillside, and the children followed the piper into the cavern, never to be seen again. Here we can see that the piper, by playing his magical music, led the dancing children to the high Koppelberg hill. And when they reached there, a huge cavern opened in the hillside. When the piper entered into the cavern, the children also followed him, and then they were disappeared forever. Now let's get into the final 4 lines of the poem. Here the poet addresses Willie, the child he has written the poem for. That means the poem is written for this child, and in the final 4 lines the poet is addressed the child. Let's read the lines now. So, Willie, let me and you be vipers of scores out with all men, especially pipers. And whether they pipe us free from rats or from mice, if we have promised them aught, let us keep our promise. The final short stanza is addressed to Willie, the child, for whom the poet has written this poem. And the speaker insists upon the importance of keeping our promises. The title, The Pied Piper of Hamelin, is a German legend, and this poem is a wonderful creation on the legend. I am sure that the readers will be able to get a wonderful message from this. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next class.